Hello and welcome back to the Casual Fanatic. Today we're going to episode 4 of The Three Key Men. Today's episode is on Crystal Palace. I didn't have a Crystal Palace shirt. I wish I did. It would have been very sick. One I would have pulled out the locker, but instead I went for a little bit of a color theme similar to it. Put one of my favorite purple shirts. Put an OG United one. Pretty cool. So going into Crystal Palace, the three key men for Crystal Palace, there's a lot to choose from in terms of who could be important right now. There weren't a lot to choose from right now who could be important because they haven't been in the best form. They don't score enough goals. They do end up conceding. They haven't scored a lot at home. They've been struggling recently. Yes, they got a result against United, but there's still a lot to work on for Vieira's men. For me, right now, the most important player for Crystal Palace is Cheick Doucouré. Cheick Doucouré is a defensive midfielder who got signed by Crystal Palace this year from Lens and has changed the way that the compactness in the midfield, changed the structure of the midfield. He's really is the integral engine room of that midfield. Not only is he able to progress the ball, he's also able to move across the entire midfield line. He's energetic, he's powerful, he's physical. This man is everywhere for Crystal Palace. And keeping him is going to be essential for Vieira to build around because you have some kind of defensive partnership in Marc Guéhi and Joachim Andersen. They lack a little bit of pace, especially without having that recovery pace from the right back. Tyrick Mitchell has had a down year compared to the up year after people were seeing that progression, that potential. But they need to try and figure out what would happen in the back line. Having a solid midfield that they can build off of, especially with Cheick Doucouré, will be essential for them moving forward. Going into then their most promising player, which goes into the attack, and where I've seen a lot of problems for Crystal Palace, because transitionally they've been weak, which is surprising considering the kind of talent that they have and the kind of players that they can operate in those channels. But it's Vieira who hasn't been able to exploit that and hasn't been able to make almost the bold enough moves. For me, it's very simple right now what Crystal Palace have to do, which is you have to bench Zaha or find a different role for him because Zaha is not outputting what you need from him. You're thinking of him as the dynamic goal-scoring winger that's attacking defenses, but he's not doing that right now. He's not providing enough value for the hindrance that he is to the team, which is he doesn't have enough pressures. He doesn't have the defensive side of the game. And realistically, he's not contributing much going forward. For me, it's getting Eze into playing at the left wing, signing a striker, which I'll go into in the next part of this video, and then the most important player, most important for the future, and it's really a question how long they can keep him, is Michael Olise. Michael Olise has been the one shining bright light, him and I would say Eze, in terms of Crystal Palace's youth side. And Michael Olise has the ability to play make, the ability to glide on the ball. He's able to take the ball both sides. He looks very comfortable in possession. And an underrated element of his game, which has helped Crystal Palace a lot this season, has been his defensive side. He ranks in the He ranks in the 97th percentile of blocks for attacking midfielders and wingers. He also ranks in the 86th percentile of tackles made. He's averaging 1.88 tackles per game and 1.6 blocks. Very high numbers. His pass completion is low. He's in the 18th percentile of pass completion. But that's to be expected in this kind of team, especially with having a disjointed forward line that's not playing consistently. You're having Ayew jumping in there, Edouard, Mateta playing with them at the same time. Zaha, Eze, there isn't any consistency. It's hard to link up and get used to it, especially also with the midfield still being thin. Cheick Doucouré cannot do it by himself, and neither can Michael Olise. But it is a promising sign for Crystal Palace. It should be enough to keep them in the Premier League, and they're on build. And where I think the first thing that they need to address, which most teams do need to address, is finding that goal scorer. Finding a striker that's going to link well. And for me, with having Eze and Michael Olise on either side, there's a lot of potential here. And I've addressed a couple of different options that Crystal Palace can look at. Different price ranges, different player profiles, because Crystal Palace have tried a similar type of striker, a physical, big striker that's not usually very clinical, but has the athleticism to back it up that they think that could then give them that transitional, that target man ability. Benteke did it for a little bit and was some kind of success, But having Mateta, Edouard, those experiments haven't really worked yet. I'm not saying it's over for Edouard. Edouard, I think there is still some room to find a player, but right now he isn't that guy. And I think Crystal Palace can't dwell on it. No one in the Premier League can just dwell on and stick to the position they're in. You have to constantly be looking for where can we go from here? What can we move to next? And for me, the ideal signing is someone that they could sign in the summer, depending on other circumstances. But right now, it's if they're looking to January, I think Taremi, grabbing him from Porto, I think the funds are available. I think he would come at a decent price. Right now he's been a proven goal scorer in the Champions League. He's a proven goal scorer in his own domestic league. He's scored internationally. That's the kind of goal scorer they need. Bring him in, take a chance on him. He's an older striker, so it wouldn't be a long-term solution, which means you'd have to dip back into the market again. But maybe going for a Taremi on loan, maybe trying to find a short-term deal with him. I don't think it would be a bad move for Crystal Palace to move for Taremi. Another thing that might be a little gap and an opening right now is just now, Arsenal announced that they're signing Leonardo Trossard. So they're out of the race. Chelsea are signing every single player on the planet, so you never know what they're going to do. United signed a loaned Weghorst, so it doesn't look like they're in the market. City haven't usually looked for this kind of profile, but what happened with the Marcus Thuram? What happened with the news around him? If he's open, if he's available, he fits the profile of what they want. Upgraded the Zaha version of Zaha in the sense of he'll score more goals. He has 10 goals in the Bundesliga already this season. More clinical. He's also going to add that physical element, that pace element. I think Marcus Thuram would be an elite signing for Crystal Palace. But if we're looking as the optimal signing for Crystal Palace moving forward, I think wait till the summer. Try and survive till then. They look like they have enough, and I believe that they do have enough to be able to stay up this season. I think there are far more teams that are in way more problem and are going to be below them this season. But wait for Bournemouth to get relegated. Sorry, Bournemouth. And go get Dominic Solanke. Solanke is already showing that he has the ability to cut it at the Premier League right now. There's a good progression line. He's still only 25. You could probably get him at a discounted price if you wait till the summer and he's relegated. And I think that's going to be the ideal signing that that Crystal Palace would be able to bring in and keep as their long-term option alongside Olise and Eze. And that chance creation is something that I feel like Solanke would thrive off of. Those are my 3 key men for Crystal Palace. See you on next episode.